right. So everybody welcome. I'm super excited. Today is week 4 of our 6-week Masterclass. And so this is when we start to dive into the nitty-gritty of how to change things so that you can get your health where you want it to be overall. So the first thing that I wanted to do is just we'll recap last week. So last week we talked about cancer. So I think the big takeaway from cancer is understanding that you don't get cancer and then you get sick. You're sick for many years and then you develop cancer. So cancer is really a survival mechanism. It's a wound healing process of the body. And so if you keep wounding the body over and over again when it comes to your health, not eating well, not exercising, not having good nerve supply over time, that's going to a massive cancer. And so most people have issues even before they have cancer. They'll have diabetes or high blood pressure, all of these things that are warning signs that we tend to ignore, and things get better, not better, bigger, worse, right? They get bigger as we kind of progress in life, having those continued wounds overall. And so anybody read The Alchemist or get a little bit further? Yeah. And then did anybody have any big takeaways so far in the last several weeks? Anything that they've changed?
When we were at the grocery store, we skip all the aisles that the box can and all that, and we just hit the fresh produce.
Awesome.
And, yeah,
so good. I love it. Anything else? Any changes from anyone? Mindset or otherwise? Quiet bunch. Okay, well.
Then do the Wim Hof breathing. I could hold my breath for 3 minutes.
Oh, okay. hopefully you get something. It's first timer here, so hopefully you get something from the next several classes too. You're welcome to come to the next 2 also. So so let's get some action steps now for you guys. So this is probably going to be my favorite week to go over. We're going to dive really deep so that you can start to understand why you're here and why you should be here for the rest of your life overall. And so when we talk about the nervous system, I gave you guys an example a couple weeks back talking about a cadaver. And so let's kind of reframe that a little bit or talk about it again. So if I had a fresh cadaver, like just passed away, fresh dead body here, and that dead body got a cut on it, would you not agree that that body has all of the molecules, has all of the organs, has everything inside of it, yet if I cut that body, is that body going to heal? Why?
It's not alive.
It's not alive, right? It doesn't have the juice. It doesn't have what it needs. It doesn't have the power inside of you. And so that's the nervous system overall. It's the power in the body. It's the electrical system. It's the part of the body that helps you to heal overall. And that's what we're going to be talking about. And so I'll frame it a little bit differently in this way. How long can you go without food? Weeks, yeah, right? How long can you go without water? Days, okay? How long can you go without air?
0.
No, minutes without air, right? You can hold your breath for several minutes. How long can you go without nerve supply? Right? You cut the nerve, whatever's at the end of the nerve, it will not function. It's literally like the electricity. You shut that switch off and that whatever's at the end of it isn't going to work at all. And so that's the importance of the nervous system. You look at somebody like this guy, who is he? Yeah, Christopher Reeves. What happened to him? He got paralyzed. So most people know that he fell off of a horse and he became quadriplegic. What a lot of people don't know is the reason that happened. When he fell off the horse, he jammed the very top bone in his neck 2 millimeters into his brainstem. Doesn't sound like a lot, does it? But that 2 millimeters choked off the messages between his brain and his body. That day when he fell off the horse, did he have bad organs? No, not that we know of. But over time, what brought him to this point is that choked off the messages from his brain to his body. And when those electrical impulses weren't able to get from his brain to his body, not only could he not use his arm and his legs, most people know that. A lot of people don't know he was on a respirator to breathe. He had to have nurses massage his bowels to get him to go to the restroom. Why? Because the nervous system controls everything in the body overall. And so I just want you guys to see that when we adjust you, it's not about your back pain, it's not about your neck pain, it's not about your headaches. I know that the adjustment helps with your pain, but your pain is just a warning sign that there's something going on, especially when it's a chronic warning sign. And so this is a little bit fuzzy here, but I was trying to look at a picture. Has anyone ever seen the nervous system dissected? Like, I wanted to show you how absolutely amazing the nervous system is. It's probably more complex than the immune system, and the immune system is incredibly complex overall. And so this was the best dissection I could get, and there's probably even smaller branches of nerves that come out, but this is the brain, the spinal cord, and all of the nerves that supply every single cell, tissue, and organ in your body. This is what life runs over. This is what helps you to function, and this is what helps you to heal. And so I told you guys last week, if we did a cross section of the spinal cord, and the spinal cord is really not all that big, it's probably about this big, but if you do a cross section and you look this way down, this is what it looks like. And so you don't have to know all of this, but I just want you to realize that there are ascending tracks, meaning the organs have to communicate up to the brain, and then there are descending tracks because the brain has to communicate to the organs, right? So if there's something going on in an organ, like your tummy isn't feeling well, your organ wants to tell your brain, hey, there's something going on, so that everything balances out. But I just want to show you, this is why sometimes, whether or not you hit a motor track, or one of the tracks, a sensory track, one of the tracks that feels something. So if you're hitting part of the spinal cord or part of a nerve that doesn't feel anything, you might not get pain, which is why you can be subluxated and not have neck pain or back pain or headaches. Does that make sense? And so this is literally the a representation of the complexity of the nervous system overall. And so you look at the brain and the spinal cord, you look at the spinal cord and what it controls and how it connects up to the brain, and then it connects down to everything going on in your body overall. And so an adjustment is so much more complicated than I could ever even really explain to you as far as the impact that it has on the nervous system, but I'm going to attempt to do that in this workshop here tonight. And so BJ Palmer, who is the developer of chiropractic, said nature needs no help, just no interference. And that's what it's about. It's not about, chiropractic doesn't add anything to the body or take anything away. The only thing we seek to do is ask the question, why? Why is the body responding this way? What is the cause of this? What is the interference in the body's innate ability to heal? If we can figure that out, we can help the body to heal overall. And so last week, we touched on the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. And so who remembers what the sympathetic nervous system is? Anybody remember what kind of response it is? Fight or flight, right? So if a lion comes in right now, your body goes into a fight or flight response where it dumps cortisol, it dumps norepinephrine, epinephrine into your body, your adrenaline goes up, your certain functions in your body get suppressed. What gets suppressed? Say it again. Digestion, absolutely. What else? What else isn't important when you're running from a lion? Immune system, not important, right? Organ function in general literally gets shut down. So you don't get blood supply, you don't get nerve function going to those organs. What increases?
Senses.
Yeah, your senses. So your sight, your hearing, your blood goes to your extremities so that you can run after, or not run after it, hopefully, run away from it or fight the lion that's coming at you, right? And so this is like the gas pedal of your nervous system. And then the parasympathetic is like your brake. What does your parasympathetic do? Rest and digest, absolutely. What do you think is more dominant in most people these days? Sympathetic, right? Most people live in that. And I want you to think about that for a second. If you're constantly running from a lion, if your alarm clock in the morning is a lion, your drive on the way to work is a lion, you hate your job and you go into this lion of a job with these people that you don't like, and then you come home and your relationship is a lion and your finances are a lion and all of these things are a lion, you are forever living in this state of shutting down your immune system, shutting down your organs. What is that going to do to you over time? And so one thing that, the most beneficial thing that an adjustment does for you is it activates your parasympathetics. And so this is the first study that I want to share with you. This guy is Dr. Kaur. He was actually an osteopath. Before he became an osteopath, he did a ton of research, 50 years of research into looking how does the spine impact the nervous system overall. And so what he found is vertebral subluxation. When a bone shifts out of alignment, it puts damage in the messages between the brain and the body. And the effect of that is you have a change in healthy human physiology. So you literally see decreased immunity, decreased digestion, shutting down of fertility, decreased focus, Attention and energy is gone. You see an increase in the rates of cancer and glaucoma, bipolar, type 1 and 2 diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, autoimmune diseases, osteoarthritis, excessive body weight, hypertension, asthma, and immune system function. The list goes on and on. And so we want to shut down this sympathetic response, and we want to start to activate the parasympathetic response. So fascinating what he did. There's another guy, Roger Sperry. He won a Nobel Prize, I believe, in 1981. The work that he did showed the importance and mobility of the spine. As we age, does your spine tend to get more flexible or more rigid?
Rigid.
Absolutely, right? And so when your spine gets rigid, you alter the proprioception. Proprioception means where I am in space. You alter the proprioception of the joints. And I'm going to use kind of some big words here tonight. But I want you to realize that your joints have a bunch of receptors on them called mechanoreceptors. And so the joints between your spine are always sending messages of where you are into space up to your brain, and that's how your brain is able to regulate your body. When you get rigid, that alters the communication, and this guy found that 90% of the brain's nutrition comes from the mobility of the spine. And so you literally decrease the brain's nutrition when you decrease flexibility in the spine. That's one more reason to get adjusted for the rest of your life. And so just interesting with this study. This was network spinal analysis, NSA. This is there's, how many people know there's a bunch of techniques? Anybody been to a different chiropractor and been adjusted in a different way? There's over 300 techniques. Every chiropractor is probably going to believe that their technique is the best technique, but all of them work. And so the idea, sometimes anybody ever feel like, man, Dr. Chad adjusts different than Dr. Elise, and Dr. Elise adjusts different than Dr. Thaddeus. It feels different. We're all going to have different touches, but understand the goal of the adjustment is exactly the same. It is finding the subluxation. It's finding where those bones are not articulating well. It's finding where there's damage in the nervous system and correcting that. That's improving the function of the nervous system. And so it doesn't matter if I adjust you, if he adjusts you, if he adjusts you. We're all doing the same thing to impact the nervous system overall. This shows pre and post adjustment, shutting down the sympathetics in the nervous system. And so these are scans of the brain, which is pretty fascinating. And so I think that the biggest thing that we have to understand when it comes to chiropractic is we have to understand what health is. And so most people base their health on two things. They base their health on how they look and how they feel, right? So you wake up and you say, I feel good, therefore I am healthy, or you say, I feel bad, therefore I am sick. I like to call that the feel-good philosophy. Most of us, including myself, have grown up living by the feel-good philosophy. If you look good, you feel good, you sit at home, you eat your bonbons, Fritos, Doritos, you do not work out, you're good to go. We laugh, but we know that's true, right? That's how most people out there live. They think if I feel good, I'm good to go, right? They think if I'm, I'm on all of these medications, my high blood pressure, my diabetes medication, everything is under control, therefore I am healthy. And what a horrible way to live, in my opinion, because at the end of the day, those are the people who end up getting smacked with the diagnosis, because health is not how you feel, right? We all know somebody who felt good and looked good and had a heart attack, or felt good and looked good and was diagnosed with cancer. In fact, do you know what 70% of the time the first symptom of heart disease is? Any ideas? 70%, say it again? There you go, heart attack. 70% of the time, the first symptom of heart disease is a heart attack. You don't want to wait till you have the heart attack to do something for your health overall, right? And so health is not how you feel, and it's not how you look. So then, what is health?
Function.
There you go. And so, good job, long-time patients. Function in the body overall, right? So 100% function is truly 100% health overall. And when I say function, we're talking about physically, spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. It's function in your body. So imagine this. Imagine your heart beating at 100% function. Your lungs breathing at 100%. Your stomach taking in nutrients, getting rid of waste at 100% function. If you had 100% function in your body, what would you be? 100% healthy, right? Does cancer exist at 100% function? No, apoptosis is happening. Immune system is killing cells. Does heart disease exist at 100% function? Impossible. Does anyone exist at 100% function? That's the challenge, right? Because if we were all here, we wouldn't have to worry about anything. But unfortunately, there are things that bring us this way. And so there is another end to the spectrum. What if your heart, your liver, your lungs, your pancreas are functioning at 0%? What are you?
Dead.
Yeah, you're 6 feet under, right? And so notice that health isn't when you're feeling good, and death isn't when you're feeling death. It's not about feeling, it's about function. But we tend to live our lives eating poor foods, not exercising, sitting down all day, living stressed in that sympathetic response all the time, and we start to lose function, and maybe we get down to 90%. But at 90%, we don't really feel much. Maybe we're a little bit sluggish, and then we get down to 80%, and then we start to get a crick in the neck, and we're like, yeah, no big deal, right? And then you get down to 70%, and then you start to get some headaches and you have some allergies, and you're like, everybody gets headaches and allergies as they get older. And then finally, you get down to 60%, right? And then you really think, man, I have a problem. And that's tend to be where you have kind of a significant symptom that you go after. 60% function is where people get to. Who wants to wait until their heart is functioning at 60% or their digestive organs are functioning at 60%? That's what's so backwards with this system. And then when you finally get significant enough of a symptom, who do you tend to go see? A doctor, right? And so then you go, and this is when you have high blood pressure, and you go, you get your blood pressure medication, and you take that, but does that blood pressure medication do anything to heal the cause of your problem? And so what we're seeing these days is more and more people are coming into our office and they're starting to realize medications aren't healing me, right? They're getting me back to a normal when I go and I get a test, but at the end of the day, if I take that blood pressure medication away, what comes back? The high blood pressure. And so we're starting to ask the question, why? Because we've seen over and over, you go and you take that blood pressure medication, but you continue to move in this direction, and now you add on the high cholesterol medication, and then you add on the diabetes medication, right? And then you add on the second cholesterol medication, and then somewhere along the line in here, you get the heart attack, cancer, autoimmune condition, something of that nature. And this is what most people go through when it comes to their health in this country, and that in our country is what we call our healthcare system. That's not a healthcare system. That's a sick care system, right? And so what we have to do is we have to actually start moving ourselves this way. And that's why we teach everything that we teach overall in the office. My favorite lens to teach patients is green grass versus brown grass. And so this is Dr. Joe Arve, another doctor within our network, but you know, people will ask me like, Dr. Lise, how do I get off my Nexium? Or how do I get off of my high blood pressure or something of that nature? Well, we have to increase function in our body overall. We have to support the function of the nervous system. When we teach you nutrition, it's not because I care if you fit in your skinny jeans come January, right? When we teach exercise, that's not what it's about. It's not about looking good. It's not about feeling good, because those things are not what health is. We need to oxygenate your body. That's the purpose of exercising. We need to create lean muscle in your body, because that is what's healing you overall. We need to fuel your body with good foods, because if you put Kool-Aid in your gas tank, your car's not running well. It has to have gasoline. And so what if you started looking at every decision you made in your life and you asked, is this producing green grass or brown grass? And so when we take a hose and we kink the hose, what happens to the water coming out?
Slows down.
Slows down. Does that make green grass or brown grass?
Brown.
When you're subluxated, it kinks the nerves. When the nerves aren't getting the messages through, that's brown grass. That's why you have to get adjusted for the rest of your life. But what if you went home tonight and you said, for dinner, is this pizza giving me green grass or brown grass, right? And understand that you laugh at that for the pizza, but how good was that cupcake? Anyone?
Good.
No, not very good?
It was really good.
Yeah, so Dr. T made them. He spent a long time yesterday making them, and weren't they pretty? So, but I want to show you guys, which is why we're kind of trying to do something new every week, and I want to show you guys, like, this is the way that I live. We make these cupcakes. Anybody know what the secret ingredient is? Did he tell you? Yeah, black beans, right? So I usually make this. I don't make cupcakes, I make cake, and I bring the cake to a party, and I don't let anyone know what's in it. I just say, oh, we brought chocolate cake, and it's always the first thing to go. People think it tastes so good, and everybody is super surprised when they find out that it's made with black beans at the end. And so what I want you to realize is you can still have pizza, you can still have cake, you can still have cupcakes, you can have all of these things, you can have Mexican food. We just have to give you the right ingredients to make these things so that they're actually good for you. And so when you're asking yourself, yesterday, I went to, like, I had some activity in the morning, went to a park, and I was like, man, I was already out doing a lot of activity. Do I really need to exercise? And then I'm like, no, green grass or brown grass. Like, do something hard today, Lise. Like, get on your Peloton and do a workout. So I got up and I did my workout anyways, because I was thinking, what is better for my health, not what do I feel like doing. And so how do you do something like get off of your Nexium? How do you lose weight when you're plateauing with your hormones? How do you shift your health? You have to start doing things that are moving you this way, and you can't be lazy. You have to do these things. When we say the 5 essentials, they're not the 5 suggestions, right? They're the 5 requirements, really. And if you're missing one, you're missing a huge piece when it comes to your health overall. And so little by little, you just want to start growing yourself within those essentials. That's what I've done. It's not because, like, recognize where I am today. Sometimes I feel like people are like, yeah, Dr. Elise, but you're the chiropractor, like, it's your office. It's got to be easy for you. Why? Because it's been 10, 15 years of making changes. And little by little, as you evolve over the course of a decade and 15 years, you start throwing away your microwave. Or with Dr. Chad and Alondra's like, I'll bring a microwave in here. Like, I have an extra one at home. And I'm like, that's not the point. I can buy you guys a microwave, but I'm not going to buy you a microwave because it's not good for your food. It's after food. It's not good for you. So I went and I got them a toaster oven, because that's what we use at my home, right? And so little by little, it's just about making these tiny shifts over time that start to create green grass in your life overall. Does that make sense? And so what is the normal position of the spine? And so notice that this really should say, like, ideal position. Again, it's not the suggested position of the spine. And I say that because there is a difference between common and normal. Sometimes I sit down with people and they're like, yeah, but Dr. Elise, like, what does my spine look like compared to everybody else? Well, let's talk about what everybody else is experiencing out there. Like, how many people are overweight? How many people have diabetes? How many people are on high blood pressure, high cholesterol medications, are totally unhealthy in our country? You really want to talk about what's common? And so we can't compare ourselves to what's common. We have to look at what's considered normal or ideal when it comes to our bodies overall. And so ideal position of the spine, what is it? From the front to back, we want to see? 45, 45, 45. So that's from the side. Yeah, you got it. 45, 45, 45. So we want to see a curve in your neck. And this guy doesn't have a really good curve, does he? Curve in the back and a curve in the lower back. And so we should have a little bit more of a C-shaped curve here. And then from front to back, what do we want to see? Straight. Straight with even hips, absolutely. And so that alignment is important because these bones surround and protect your spinal cord and the nerves that exit. So when they're in this proper alignment, it is impossible to have a disc herniate. It's impossible to get degeneration. I have a slide of this later on. That's okay, we'll skip it. I had a guy earlier today, I was doing a initial evaluation with him in the office, and he said to me, like, so he asked me kind of the question, like, how does my spine compare to other people? And what does arthritis mean? Isn't arthritis old age? And I said, that's a really great question. Let's talk about it for a second. Consider this. Consider I'm 65 years old, okay? Why is it at 65 years old, my right knee degenerates and I have to go in and have a knee replacement? Would not my left knee degenerate at the same rate if it was just age that caused arthritis or degeneration? So the same thing is true in the spine. When we look at your spine, you're going to have normal segments. You're going to have segments that are in phase 1, phase 2, or even phase 3 of degeneration if it's been there that long. And so it's not time that causes degeneration or arthritis. It is not time that breaks down a knee joint. What breaks down the knee joint or the shoulder is abnormal biomechanics of the joint. If you can reestablish normal biomechanics, you can stop degeneration from occurring and even reverse it depending on how bad it is. And so if you were to have 3 45-degree curves from the side, straight up and down, even hips, you'll never have a herniated disc in your life. The problem is, again, is anyone have that alignment? Is anyone functioning at 100%? No, we just don't live in an ideal world. And that's the purpose of taking care of yourself for the rest of your life. So study number 2. So this is a team of medical doctors led by Dr. Glassman. This was published in 2005 in the journal Spine. It measured posture in 752 people on the sagittal plane, meaning from the side, using full spine x-rays. What they found is even minor forward head posture was shown to be detrimental to breathing, heart rate, pain, and disability. Why would forward head posture cause that? Well, this is from a completely different source. So this is from a hospital, right? So this is 2014. I think we've all kind of been at least familiarized with like text neck is what they're calling it. When your head shifts forward, it causes exponential weight at the base of your neck. So if I told you, hey, come up here and hold this bowling ball here, and hold this bowling ball here, which one could I hold longer? Even distribution of forces on a good, sound, biomechanically stable spine. When your bowling ball comes out like this, can you see how that creates a long lever and that can create tension here? Well, that's not just the muscles and the ligaments that are giving you your stress in your shoulders, but those are the same nerves that are going to your lungs. So yeah, that can cause shortness of breath. Those are the same nerves that are going to your heart. So yes, that can cause heart issues. Those are the same nerves going to the muscles and the ligaments here in your neck. So yeah, that can cause shoulder tension and neck tension overall. And so interesting how, and this is not the only study, there's probably dozens of studies showing forward head posture affects breathing and heart issues overall too. Study number 3, this is another good one. So this is talking about dowager's hump. So this is little old lady posture, right? So it's talking about the hyperkyphosis within the spine. It looked at 610 women between 67 and 93 years old, followed them for 13 and a half years, and discovered women with larger curvatures were more likely to die prematurely. And there's study after study of this within men also with hyperkyphotic spine. This literally increases your rate of mortality. Why? It affects the nervous system. It affects the tracts in the spinal cord. It shuts down organs and it shuts down life in your body. It shuts down your body's ability to heal overall. This is my favorite study. My favorite study because it was not done by chiropractors. This is in an orthopedic journal. It's the Journal of Neurosurgery Spine, okay? And so I'm going to go over here, and I won't read all of that to you, but this comes directly from the highlighting here. It says greater cord tension. So imagine a banana. If I took a banana and I forced that banana in the opposite direction, what's going to happen to that banana? Smashed banana, right? You think that smashed banana? Think of that as your neck. If I took your neck and I put it in the opposite direction, what's happening to the inside of your spinal column? Not good. Smashed banana in your spinal cord. So greater tension increases intramedullary cord pressure and has been shown to lead to apoptosis. What is apoptosis? Cell death. Translation, subluxation causes cell death in your nerves, so that your nerves aren't functioning well in your spinal cord. And so the most interesting part about this, and it literally is just describing demyelination and death of the spinal cord and the nerves, the most interesting part is at the very end of it, it says, the current literature is filled with controversy surrounding the best surgical approach to correct cervical spondylitic myelopathy, to correct subluxation. And so orthopedic surgeons are out there fighting over the best surgical approach to fix this, when this is exactly what we fix in our office, right? And so just interesting. Here's another study. This is Radical Impact of Long-Term Care. You guys have probably heard me talk about this study. This is a 7-year study done with over 800 people. The clinical and cost utilization was based on over 70,000 members over the course of months, because it talks about what people are paying. And what they found, they followed these people living a chiropractic lifestyle. So people who had a chiropractor as their primary care physician versus a doctor as their primary care physician, because you walk into a doctor's office and that doctor is saying, oh, you have a symptom, here's your pill. Oh, you have a symptom, here's your pill. Versus a chiropractor who's saying, what's the cause of this? Let's adjust you. Let's look at diet. Let's look at how you're exercising, how you're detoxing. And they found there was 60.2% less in-hospital admissions, 59% less hospital days, 60% less surgeries and procedures, and 85% less pharmaceutical costs. That was like the crazy part to me. Can you imagine if there was something out there that could decrease your risk of taking pharmaceuticals and the cost of those by 85%, would you do it? Take care of your spine for the rest of your life, right? Study number 6, upper cervical subluxation in newborns. And so this looked at over 600 children that were less than 2 years old. And they were analyzing them for what they called kinematic imbalance due to suboccipital strain. Kinematic imbalance means bones aren't in the proper alignment. Suboccipital strain, suboccipital right below your occiput, talking about the muscles that are strained up there. Upper cervical subluxation of the spine is what they're talking about when you read between the lines. The risk factors for upper cervical subluxation of the spine in kids under 2 years old were intrauterine misalignment. Mother having bad alignment of her hips and not getting adjusted during pregnancy. Application of extraction aids in delivery, vacuum and forceps. Prolonged labor, mom not healthy, not delivering the way that she should, and or multiple fetuses, right? So unhealthy mom, not good alignment, leads to hard birth. And all of a sudden we have kinematic imbalance due to suboccipital strain, and now we have torticollis, slowed motor development, loss of appetite, pathological reflexes, baby doesn't latch well, restlessness and concentration issues. Every child should get checked at birth, right? So the things that cause subluxation that we're going to go into, number one, physical stress. And so the first physical stress we all go through is the birthing process. And so this is exactly why you see kids running around in the office and we get kids checked. And so how do we look at subluxation? How do we detect it? It's why we take x-rays. And I'll tell you, there are some people that really dive into what we do and what we teach, and those are the people that get the best change in their spine overall. I always tell people your spine is a direct reflection of your lifestyle. So if I followed you around for the next week and I looked at how you're living, what would that say about your spine? Sometimes I wish people's spines were on their foreheads, because if they were on their foreheads, if you could see what was going on in your spine, you'd probably do something for yourself. It's like your teeth. If you were walking in here, you tripped the curb and you hit your tooth and you got a chipped tooth, would you have walked in here and sat through this workshop? No. You would have been on the phone with an emergency dentist trying to get in to get your tooth fixed before you have to go to work tomorrow, right? That's how much vanity matters to us. And so I wish your spine was on your face so that you could see what was going on your spine on the inside, because the degeneration, the arthritis that goes on isn't something that you always see, and that's exactly why we have to x-ray you. Another question I get often is, Dr. Elise, is this typical for a 30-year-old? Well, there's not really anything typical for a 30-year-old or for an 80-year-old, because what's typical is no degeneration at all. I've seen someone come in who's 65 who looks like their spine is 20, and I've seen someone who's come in who's 20 who looks like their spine is 65. Again, it's not about age, it's about the things that you've been through, physical, emotional, chemical stresses that affect your spine overall. So I want to give you a couple of x-rays, and I chose to pull x-rays from kids over here, and so I want to make sure Carl can see it. And so over here, this was a 10-year-old female who came into our office in April of 2016, is on the left. August of 2016 is on the right. On the left, what do you guys see?
Straight.
Yeah, so she's got a curve. Can you see how she's got a shift in her hips? Right hip is higher than her left hip by 10 millimeters. So at 10 years old, how well is this little girl functioning, good or bad? Is she developing health or disease? Why? Because her nerves aren't functioning well. So this is a child that could have digestive issues, she could have breathing issues, she could have heart issues. For her, she could have allergies. For her, it's focus. So she's in school and she's being labeled as ADD, ADHD. Her mother comes to a dinner that we do in the office and she says, I don't know what to do. They want to put her on Ritalin. I don't want to do it. I want to help her naturally if I can. We start adjusting her, and this is literally 4 months later. How much better is her nervous system functioning? She's focusing better in school. I used to have a picture of this. I'll try to find it to share in the future. But she was getting C's and D's on her assignments. She came in at this point getting nothing less than a 90% the school year after. And so she's doing awesome. Why? Nervous system is functioning better, step one for healing. And then we coach them through how to eat better. Obviously she's a kid, so she's getting a lot of activity in, which is a good thing. They started wobbling, which was really important too. This is another little girl. This was earlier this year, February 2020. So she came in because she had back pain. So back pain, and we x-rayed her. Look at her neck. She's 7 years old. Reverse curve in her neck, -8 degrees. How well is her brain communicating with her body? The only reason she had back pain is because she was like on the playground, fell, hit her butt. Thank goodness she got back pain that day, because that was her mom's like, oh, well, I guess I'll get her checked because she has some back pain. Well, there's way more going on inside of the body than just the back pain that's expressing itself. And so we start adjusting her. She's still under care in the office, but the last x-ray that we took was in August. Look how she went from 43 millimeters of forward head carriage down to 30. She goes from 33 and 24 degrees up here surrounding her brainstem. This is the area where that bone shifted and it affected Christopher Reeves. And you can see these should be 18 degrees. She goes from 33, almost 34 down to 20. She goes from 24 down to almost a perfect 18. And she reduces her curve from -8 and starts going pretty much in a positive direction, even though her C2 is still kind of tipping forward. And so how much better is her body functioning now? Hasn't been sick, doing better in school, everything, because her nervous system is functioning well. And she hasn't even added in the eating well part. We're still working on that with the family, right? So how do we get subluxated? There's 3 things that cause subluxation. What are they? Say it again. Physical stress, yep. So traumas. What are the other 2? Toxins. What's the other one? Thoughts, yeah, absolutely. Thoughts, traumas, and toxins. So I tried to put together kind of some examples of the things in your life that you might want to try to minimize. I spoke with a woman who's in this room right now, and I won't call her out, but I'll say that I'm proud of her because it's a really hard thing to say I'm not happy in my place of work and I'm going to change that. And she just started a job and she's like, this is not the right job for me, and I know that this is not going to be good for my mental health, and she's currently looking for a different job. That's sometimes what it takes. You have to take responsibility for your own health and where you are in all aspects of this. But how many people with emotional stress have relationship or family issues? They have work stress, financial stress. A lot of stress comes from lack of planning. So anybody feel like they put out fires in their life all day, right? If you feel like you're putting out fires in your life all day, you have to start to organize your life. There's a great teaching that I won't go through too much, but there's 4 quadrants that exist within your life. So many people live in the putting out fires quadrant. And so one thing that I teach my team is don't wait until we're in this get it done now, get it done now, get it done now mode. You have to start to get things done early. And in order to do that, you have to plan your week. And so if you looked at my planner, you'd probably think I'm a nut job, because I literally every week I sit down on Sunday and I write down the things that I'm going to accomplish each day to make sure that I don't get to the point where I feel like, oh my God, that is something I have to get done right now. I never want to be in that point. I always want to try to get things done early. And so planning your life is really important. Information overload, social media status quo. You guys all realize that nobody on social media is real, right? So they go through an hour of taking 1,000 pictures of their family and they get the one picture where everybody is smiling nicely and you're like, oh, look what a beautiful family. You don't see the 999 other pictures that it took that family to get the one beautiful picture of their family. And so understand that the struggles you go through, the feeling of unworthiness, the feeling of stress in every area of your life, the feeling of I don't know if I'm enough, the relational stresses that you have with your spouse, with your kids, the grass is not greener on the other side. We all go through the same things. It's just the meaning that you attach to it and how you choose to internalize that. Self-love and self-worth is another big one. And then news and politics. Turn the TV off. Turn it on Tuesday night, that's fine, tomorrow, like see what happens, right? But like turn the TV off. You can check news once a week. See what's going on in the world once a week. That's a really good barometer. But if you're somebody who goes home and you're always looking at news and politics and all of that stuff, it is stressful, right? It is stressful to go home and look at what's going on with the coronavirus, right? It is stressful. Quit looking at it. Just go live your life and choose to be happy overall. Traumas. Car accidents, slips, falls, sitting at a desk all day, looking down at technology, improper ergonomics at work, repetitive postures and movements, sleeping in a bad position for 8 hours a night, wearing a purse or a backpack or a briefcase, all of those things physically shift your spine out of alignment. And then you have your toxicity. And so as far as toxins go with food, drinks, your personal care products, your cleaning products, we have a whole nother workshop on that next week, and I think that's probably what most people are excited for, me too. But any questions about thoughts or traumas? Can we all identify places where we can maybe minimize those things in our lives? And all of that will help with your healing overall. If you need help with that, that's exactly what we do here in the office. I would love to have a 30-minute phone conversation with you or a consult here in the office where we can walk through, Dr. Elise, I know these things are affecting me, but I don't know how to minimize them. Great. That's a really easy thing to fix when you can identify the things that you need to shift in your life overall. I would love to do that for each and every one of you. So thoughts, traumas, and toxins.
Proper sleeping is on your back.
Supported with your rolls. Because everybody in here does that, I know. That's why you guys are here. So what does subluxation lead to? There are 3 things that happen when you get subluxated. And so when you get subluxated, meaning the nervous system isn't functioning well, so there's damage on the nerves, let's say, that are going to your heart. What happens to your heart? Is it functioning or malfunctioning?
Malfunction.
Yeah, so that malfunction is dysfunction. So the first thing that you get with subluxation is dysfunction. Now the thing about subluxation is when you start to get dysfunction, you don't always feel it. But over time, as that dysfunction persists, eventually that dysfunction in the heart will lead to, what do you think? Disease. Yeah. And then disease over time, if you leave it there and it persists and it doesn't get any better, what does that lead to? Early death of cells. And so dysfunction, disease, and death. And those are 3 pretty big steps to go through right there, right? And luckily, we all kind of live in that dysfunction area for quite some time. And so the good news is that we have a lot of capacity to change that overall. And so that's why we get adjusted. And so, isn't that the cutest picture? And so the last one was Dr. T too. I didn't get one of his face. It's the only one I could get on there. But so I wanted to kind of give you guys an idea. I had somebody say this. Anybody feel like I get the same adjustment every time I come in here and everybody gets the same adjustment? So sometimes I could see how from the outside you might think that, but it's certainly not true. Your adjustments are very much based on the restriction within your spine and your x-rays. But here's the thing. Everybody has a subluxation pattern. That means when I subluxate, I tend to subluxate up here and at the base of my neck. I get headaches and I get stress in my shoulders. I've never had low back pain in my life. And I don't think I'll ever get low back pain unless somehow I have some trauma that really messes up the stability of my lower back. That's not my subluxation pattern. Dr. T's subluxation pattern is right here. So he gets pain right in this area. He's super tender right in that area. He's a little bit hyperkyphotic, and he gets his stress right here. That's where he feels it when he gets subluxated. Dr. Chad, I think, is his lower back, is where he feels it when he gets subluxated most of the time. We all have patterns. The idea behind what we do is to break those patterns. And so what we do is broken down into mix, fix, and set. Okay? The mix is about overcoming spinal rigidity. It is the warm-up for the spine. This is the importance of your wobble and your neck traction. And so I know that it seems like, oh, we give you this bag of stuff and it's really cool that day, but then you take it home and you put it in the back of your closet and you never look at it again. That's not the purpose of it. There is this all works together as a system. The mix part is the most important part in the beginning. So wobbling and neck traction helps to break through the rigidity within your spine. Research states a daily regimen of 5 to 7 minutes of full range of motion exercises are absolutely essential for daily metabolic interchange, nutrition intake, and elimination of waste products in order to maintain a healthy, well-hydrated spinal discs, ligaments, and tendons. I don't ask you to do that much. I just found this. You should do 5 to 7 minutes of wobbling. I've seen this before, but I just try to minimize it because I want you to do something, if that makes sense. And something is better than nothing. But if you can get in good movement within your spine for 5 minutes a day, you are doing so many good things for your discs, your ligaments, and your tendons. While physical activity can create a pumping force, world-renowned researcher and orthopedic surgeon cites loading and unloading the spine as the best way to create the pumping force that produces fluid exchange. That's what this exercise does. You're walking your 10,000 steps, it doesn't matter. It is not the same as doing your wobble exercise. Your wobble exercise is probably the most important exercise that you can do for your spine. Your neck traction is a close second. Why? When you're wobbling, you're not really getting that pumping motion within your neck. This helps you to get that pumping motion within your neck. Helps to put a good cervical curve within your neck. And so that is the mix, which is kind of the warm-up of the spine overall. The second portion is the fix. What do you guys think the fix is? The adjustment. Yeah. So you do your mix, and then you do your fix. And so everybody likes the fix part of it. And so that is getting motion within the segments, restoring proper biomechanics of the segments, which instantaneously changes the messages between the brain and the body, okay? And that's why you start to feel better in that moment. But what a lot of people don't get a lot of is the set. The set are your isometric exercises. It's your head weight. It's the exercise where you go like this and you push into your head for 10 seconds, where you sit there and you do this, or you do this, or you're on the edge of your seat and you go like this, right? Those isometric exercises help to build stability within the spine. They help to set the adjustment. It is through these three things together that we get the best correction in the spine, plus minimizing thoughts, traumas, and toxins. That is chiropractic. That's what we do. So mix, fix, and set. And so just a little bit about your joints. A couple things about your joints that I think are important to know. Your joints don't like acidic environments. And so that's another reason that nutrition is really important. Acidic environment's bad for joints. What do you think causes an acidic environment within your body?
Sugar.
Sugar, good, yeah, sugar. Gotta cut out the sugar in case you didn't have a reason thus far to cut out the sugar. It creates acidic environment within your joints. It deteriorates your joints. And so taking care of your spinal joints and your discs happens through motion. And then taking care of the rest of your joints, I think, happens through motion, good biomechanics of the spine, good technique when you're lifting or running, that kind of thing. And then a lot of people ask about this. If you're not going to take care of your spine, you can't just take the joint health supplement. Does that make sense? You cannot supplement yourself out of a bad lifestyle, is what I mean. And so sometimes people come in, they're like, oh, this person has this, this, and this. What can they take? You got to start at the 5 essentials. But if you're doing the 5 essentials and you want an extra boost, this is something that we just started carrying called Joint Health, and we have a ton of people who swear by it. It has things like B2 inside of it, which helps with joint health, hyaluronic acid, cartilage, and this helps to support the rehydration and the healing of the joints overall. So if you're somebody who has knee pain, hip pain, shoulder pain, if you have arthritis that you know is starting within your spine, this might be a supplement that you might want to consider taking. It helps to improve joint mobility and reduce inflammation within the joints overall. So I'm going to go to this. Any questions? These are some questions that I thought of when it comes to chiropractic, like the questions that I get from people. So let's see what's the best way to sleep? What's the best way to sleep?
On your back with our rolls.
Supported by your rolls, yeah. Why do I keep getting the same adjustment? Because you have a subluxation pattern, absolutely. Why does it crack? Carl? It's a release of gas, yeah. So the same way that you go like this and gas escapes your joints, like we're not crushing your bones. You're not getting fractures every time you get adjusted. There's nothing bad happening. Whether you crack or don't crack actually doesn't matter at all. It has nothing to do with the adjustment at all. It's just gas escaping from the joints. Sometimes when people start getting adjusted, they'll actually start to crack more or pop more. And the reason they pop more is the biomechanics of the spine is changing. And so your muscles and ligaments are now finding a new normal when it comes to holding the position of the spine. That's a good thing. We want that. Some people start to pop less after we start to get more stability within the spine overall. That is also normal, and that is a good thing. Do I need to get adjusted for the rest of my life?
Yes.
Why? Maintain function overall, absolutely. The same way you eat well and exercise. I love when people say, oh, get adjusted for the rest of my life. Like, you know, why would I ever start getting adjusted? I heard you have to do that forever. It's like saying, well, I'll never exercise or eat well, because if I do that, I'm going to look so good and feel so good and function so well that I have to eat well and exercise for the rest of my life. And so I thought that before I started chiropractic care also. And so it's just a mindset shift. Like you're doing these 5 things. You're practicing good mindset, good nutrition, good exercise, you know, active detoxing, and supporting your nervous system in order to help your body overall. How do I take care of my spine at work? A lot of people ask that. What you want to do, whether or not you're driving or you're sitting or you're standing, you want to try to be in a good ergonomic position. And so when I say a good ergonomic position, this is not a good ergonomic position, right? And this tend to be how all of us tend to sit down over here, right? And so what we want to do is we want our head over our shoulders over our hips, and if we're standing, our hips over our ankles. And so a good ergonomic position is this. When you sit on the edge of a chair, you're naturally promoting a good alignment or a good curve within your lumbar spine. When you see me sit on a chair, I usually sit on the edge And so this is where you want to be. And then if you're standing, you want to be like this. And so you want to try to position things like this in front of you to where you're not looking down, and you might even be looking slightly up, but straight in front of you. And so you want to think about the position of your body on a daily basis. That's probably one of the major subluxators within our culture is posture. Is home care really that important? Yes. Okay. How long does it take a subluxation to have an effect on the body? Any ideas? Katie's back there with all the answers. So 2 weeks. And so Dr. Chad just told me today, and to be honest, sometimes you read the literature and it gets a little fuzzy in your brain. I remember 14 days. He says 10. I'll have to go and look back. But either way, 10 days, 14 days, same thing. The reason I never suggest anyone dropping down to more than every other week, coming in twice a month, is because it takes on average between 10 to 14 days for subluxation to start to have a negative effect, degeneration to start to persist within the spine. And so that's why you should get adjusted at least every other week. I'll tell you, most people probably need more than that. It depends on your levels of thoughts, traumas, and toxins. You might go through seasons in your life where you need to come in twice a week for a few months because your stress levels are up here and you're not eating well, you're not exercising, you might need to come in more. But the more that you can start to make those things a part of who you are, the overarching goal is twice a month, or at least if you like coming in once a week. I'll also say this, as we go into the holidays, most people, they get stressed during the holidays, right? You're eating more sugar, you're drinking more alcohol, you're staying up later, you're stressed about, in-laws coming in and outlaws coming in and gifts for people and all this other stuff. That is not the time to stop your adjustments. That is the time to increase your adjustments. That's the time to drink more water, to sleep more, to even if you're going out and you're having the sugary stuff in the drinks, like come home and have your green supplement. You know what I mean? Do things to help your body out as you're putting your body through more stress as well. And then how often should I get adjusted? That's a great question, and that's very individual, and that's very dependent on where your spine is, how much progress you want to get in your spine, and to some extent how you feel. So how you feel isn't like wrong. We should be listening to our bodies and how our bodies feel overall. We just don't want to just base our bodies on, or our health on how we feel, because there's also times when we feel bad when our body's doing the right thing, right? Any other questions that you guys can think of, or anything that you've heard people say that you might want like an answer to? Any questions overall health related? Anybody find this stuff as interesting as I do? Yeah, awesome. So what I'd like you guys to do is next week we're going to talk about nutrition, and we're going to talk about detox. I'm going to give you some pretty sweet handouts to take home with you to start doing like a medicine cabinet makeover, except not in your medicine cabinet, like your bathroom vanity and your pantry and all of that. We're going to start doing a makeover at home. But I want you guys to seriously, if you haven't made any changes, if you haven't committed to something within your health, I want you to prep your brain to start getting committed. And I think at the end of this, if you guys want to, we can do kind of a 40-day like kickstart challenge together where we're all doing like no sugar. I mean, we can do 30 days if you want to. I'm down for it because I'm doing grain-free, sugar-free Thanksgiving. You're welcome to join me if you'd like. But if you just want to do 14 days, I think that would be pretty cool. Just you can kind of jumpstart things. But like, when's the last time you did something hard? Like, do something hard for yourself. And I get it. This is going to be hard. Changing your life is hard, but you're worth it. You're worth it. And so start to think of, what are my questions? What is it going to take to change things in my life? What is it going to take to take massive action in the right direction so that I can actually achieve the goals that I want to achieve? But you have to take action and you have to do something different to get a different result. Cool? All right. Love you guys.